So welcome to the first of a few videos just going through some of the skills that we would have been learning in the end of the Easter term and beginning of the summer term. I know there's a lot of videos out there and I'll probably be sharing some extra ones for you to watch in your own time, but I thought it'd be nice to have a familiar face making you cringe as I usually do in class and going through some stuff. I've also invited along Berlioz the cat to help us out. I know that some of your other teachers as well have brought along some of their friends to help, so I thought in this time of quarantine and self-isolation, Berlioz will have to do for now. So as we're going through this video, the things that you're going to need are a pen, something to drum on. For me, I'm using a sketchbook, but you can use your lap, you can use something else that someone at home is happy for you to use. Just make sure you ask them first. And your booklet as well. Now I know a lot of you either left your booklets at school or have lost them / chicken wings getting on them and coffee and other sorts of liquid substances that, let's be honest, should not be on your booklets. That's absolutely fine by this point. You do not need an actual written booklet anymore unless you want to print it out. You can also just use it online. I've made it available on the Z drive, so you can either print it out or just fill it out digitally, that's fine. Anything basically so that you can see exactly the points that I'm going through, because I'm going to be using that and the PowerPoint as usual to teach the lessons with some extra helpers here and there. So yeah, let's get going. Right, Year 7s, welcome to West African Drumming Lesson 1. I'm really excited to see whether we can just have an experiment and learn some of the skills that we would in class anyway. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or respond on H4. But without any further ado, let's get going. So today we are going to obviously be looking at West Africa. One of the first things that I'd be interested to know is how many West African countries can you name just off the top of your head? I know for a fact there's quite a few students in our school who either come from this area themselves, grew up there, or have parents from there. Here's some West African countries just coming up here. I know that we've got quite a few students who are from Nigeria in the school, but there's quite a few other countries in there as well that you can have a look at. As we're going through, try and have a think about how the culture might be similar or different, or some of the musical traditions that we'll be looking at, how they might be different to some of the popular music that we studied, some of the classical music that we studied as well. This is a tradition that is older than most of the music that we've actually been studying so far. Right, next I'd like you to turn to your assessment skill check page in your booklet. If you have mysteriously misplaced your booklet, you can always use this as reference or just go onto the Z drive where it's all there anyway. One thing just to keep in mind is what sort of target grade you're aiming for. There are still going to be lots of skills that you can learn even while you're at home, and a lot of them is going to be working on rhythms, so you'll see a lot of that in the next few lessons. Right, so we're going to watch a video first of all. I want you to think about who the leader in the performance is, what might this music be used for, and how do you think this sort of music is learned. Let's have a listen. The gentleman in the middle is actually known as either the master drummer or Djembe follower. This music would be used for dancing too, and festivals as well of different kinds, celebrating things particularly in different times of the year, for example harvest. And of course this music is learned as part of an oral tradition, so by listening, repeating it, and through what we call non-classical notation. So you'll be happy to know that we won't be doing lots with the dots and lines this term. One thing that I really want to show you is how a djembe is made. So what I'm going to show you is a section from a film called Folly, which is all about life and rhythm. And one of the most important things to know about African drumming is that it's such a part of the tradition and the culture in Africa. So let's see if you can spot any ways in which music is used in other contexts rather than just for entertainment. Right, let's have a look.
C'est du rythme. Toutes les choses, c'est du rythme. Toutes les choses, tout le travail, tous les bruits, c'est des rythmes. Djembe. Kansaba. Ping. Pang. Boom. Les pas de marche, c'est le rythme. Les paroles, c'est des rythmes.
Kini masenekela ibo seneti. Eke. Kini masenekela ibo seneti. Eke. Kana kuduba, kana kuduba, kana eke, kana kuduba, kana eke. Eke Ini masenekele ibo senedi Eke 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 Eke
Senati gomma finda.
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 Eke
Ibidi,
Eke
na ibidi, na ibidi, na ibidi, na
Eke
na ibidi, na
Eke
ibidi, na ibidi, na ibidi,
Eke
na ibidi,
Eke
na ibidi,
na kuduba kana
na ibidi,
Eke
na ibidi,
Eke Ini masenekele ibo
Senati
senedi
gomma finda.
Eke
Na ibidi, na ibidi,
kana ba kana
ibidi, na ibidi,
ba kana
na ibidi,
kuduba kana
Senati gomma finda.
Eke
on est dans le rythme comme ça.
Senati gomma finda.
Eke
Toutes les choses c'est le rythme.
Ini masenekele ibo
Senati
senedi
gomma finda.
So there might have been a few things that you noticed as you were watching that video. For example, there was dancing, there was some repetitive phrases that were being said, and of course that drumming pattern, those rhythms were following all the way through those different examples of what we could see people doing in the villages where this was filmed. It's just interesting to see how much this man particularly who was being interviewed talks about rhythm. So now we're going to look at the three different djembe techniques, which are bass, tone and slap. And what we'll do is we'll watch these videos on how they look, and I know that you can't necessarily practice on a djembe at home if you don't have one, which is absolutely fine. We're still going to practice, and I can give you some ideas on what you could practice on that's not going to drive people at home crazy or ruin the coffee table. So let's have a look. So here you can see in slow motion the differences between bass, tone and here is slap. So the bass obviously is right in the middle, like so. Tone is on the side, thumb out of the way, and slap is also on the side but your fingers are open. It means that you get different types of harmonics, so different types of sound coming out between the last two. So have a listen again. You can really hear the difference between tone and slap now because his hands are spreading his fingers apart and it's almost higher in pitch, you get those overtones. I'd like you to have a go at home now, just trying between those different techniques. One thing you might want to find out as well is which one is your dominant hand. So for me that's my right hand because I'm right-handed, but it isn't necessarily the same, so just experiment at home. You can do this on your thighs and I'll give you an example of how you can do that in a second, or if you have like a book or something that you can drum on top of, that's absolutely fine, you can put it on your lap. I'm using an A3 sketchbook at the moment, so that's what's working best for me while I don't have a djembe at home. So what I'm going to be doing now is just testing out on my right hand and then my left hand my bass and then my tone and then slap. So don't forget as well to make sure that you spread your fingers between tone and slap, tone together, slap, fingers apart, and maybe just practice going between those to get used to those techniques. So let's get started with just some simple techniques that I was describing to you earlier. I'm literally just going to show you on this sketchbook Sorry, Miss Harland, but that's all I've got for now. I may be able to see if I can grab a djembe for some future sessions. But let's start off with just the bass one. So as I said, my dominant hand is my right hand. I'm literally just going to go in the middle of my imaginary drum, and obviously this is already fascinating work. So what I might do to switch it up is just try it on my left hand as well, and just carry on between those two. Right, you should have been able to handle that. Let's move on to the next bit, which is tone. So fingers together and on the edge, just really simple, and you can mix it up again, one at a time, pretty easy. And then once you've done that, you can go to slap, which is fingers apart, and you can kind of bounce your hand off as well while you're doing this. One thing that you can practice then is going bass, bass, tone, tone, slap, slap, and just going between those, slap, slap, bass, bass, tone, tone, slap, slap, and so on. So now that you've got that, one thing that we're going to be showing you to do is how to put them together into a rhythm, and then that rhythm eventually is going to turn into a song, which I'll teach you to sing as well later. So let's go back down to sketchbook and put them together. So the pattern that we're looking for is also in your booklets, and it'll be on the video, and the first one we're going to do is just bass, 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 tone, 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 tone. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3 on the bass, and then tone, 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 tone. For those of you who want to know what this would be in regular notation, you shouldn't, because we should be just doing this orally, but it's just crotchet, 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 semi-quaver. Okay, so we can just practice again. We're going to go bass, 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 tone, 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 bass, 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 tone, 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 bass. And watch how I'm also alternating my hands, and so on. So that's pretty easy. Once you've done that, you can mix things up a bit. I know quite a lot of you have had some drumming experience before, so this might be very, very basic, and that's absolutely fine. We just want to make sure that we're all really happy on that, so let's now mix it up a bit. We're going to go bass, tone, tone, bass, tone, tone, bass, and then adding that slap technique, slap, 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 slap. Okay, so we'll try it a bit faster, and we'll go bass, tone, tone, bass, tone, tone, bass, slap, 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 bass, tone, tone, bass. And so on. And you can practice that for a bit at home without driving people at home nuts as well, seeing as you're going to be spending a lot of time with each other. I'll just have a go with that for now, and see how you get on, and then you can pause this video for a second, have a little go, maybe teach it to brother, sister, someone else at home who is equally as bored and therefore going to my music videos, and then yeah, I'll go back to the beginning and we can put these together into something else. One awkward pause later, we are now looking at the song, which I'm going to teach you in a second. So make sure that you have access somewhere to either these words. You can take a photo of them now or write them down, it's up to you. These are the words that we're going to be going over in the song that I'm going to teach you again in a second. Let's go across to me in real life rather than my voice on this recording. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is put some of these in the context of some other instruments that might be used traditionally in West African drumming. I know it sounds like, well, we're going to be doing a lot of drumming. Yes, we are also going to be doing some singing. It's just as much part of that tradition. So the first thing I'm going to teach you is a song called Laiko Korobe. I'll do my best with the pronunciation. Again, I am doing this from home, so this should be mostly okay and also quite cringy. So let's see how we can get on. So the first part is call and response, meaning I'm going to do the call and I'll also sing the response for now. I'll put it on the PowerPoint so you can see in bold where the responses are, but feel free to sing along. We're going to be doing bits in bold. I'll go through all of it now and then show you how it breaks down. So the first bit goes lai lai ko korobe 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 mami wanto ne aya siko lelele ko aya siko laiko na siko laiko wa wango siko laiko wa wango siko laiko, and that repeats over and over. So if you want to join in, please do. I'm just going to sing the whole thing again and see whether you can remember. So from the beginning. Lai lai ko karobe, 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 mami wantone. Aya siko leleleko, aya sika laiko, nasiko laiko. Wawango siko laiko, wawango siko laiko. And what you can do next is then put the drumming in. So at the moment I'm doing some clicking, but you can do it on bass for now just to keep the tempo. Then after you've done the vocal introduction, that's when we do the other parts of the drumming pattern. So as you might notice, it's actually quite fast. So when we were doing the drumming, it's just ta, 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 dun, 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 bass, bass, bass. In this tempo, it would be bass, 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 bass. So it's a lot faster. See whether you can get on speeding it up. See whether you can get on with singing along. You can go back to the beginning of me singing this awkward section. This fine, really normal section, and then sing along with that. See whether you can do the bits that are in bold on the PowerPoint, and see how you get on. I'll see you back on one awkward pause. So you should have had a chance now to go through those different types of drumming patterns. What I'd like you to do is make sure that you filled out your skill mastery. So just to go over what those symbols mean again, the minus means that, as it says here, that your skill is emerging, you're just about managing to do it. You might be struggling a little bit. Secure is probably you can do it most of the time. I think, to be honest, for myself, I'd say I'm secure on some of these techniques. I don't feel like I've mastered them quite yet, but some of you might have already mastered them, so please make sure you write that down so that you can keep an eye on your progress and make sure that it's accurate so that you can use your time wisely going forward. I'll see you for some other videos with the next lesson in the future. In the meantime, your homework is obviously just to practice, get used to either the singing or get used to the drumming. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to email me on my usual school address, which you should all know, and it will be on the school website if you're not sure. So I'll leave you to get on with that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and look out for the one for lesson 2 next Monday.
Les pas de marche, c'est le rythme. Les paroles, c'est des rythmes.
Kini masana kela ibo seneti. Eke. Kini masana kela ibo seneti. Eke.
Kana kuduba, kana kuduba, kana
Eke.
kana kuduba, kana
Eke.
kana kuduba, kana
Eke. Kini masana kela ibo
kana
seneti.
kuduba, kana kuduba,
Eke.
kana kuduba,
Eke.
kana kuduba,
Eke. Eke.
senati gomma fila,
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 Eke.
kana kuduba, kana kuduba, kana kuduba.
Ibidi, ibidi, na 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 ibidi.
Now, clearly it wouldn't be a good video without an after credits scene. Thank you, Marvel. So, as I said, I would be using Berlioz to help us out. Berlioz had some very interesting questions. He's asked me to summarise the video at the end because too long didn't read. Well, that doesn't work in this context, but you understand. If you are watching through these videos and you think, actually, that's way too basic for me, please just go along to the end and I'll summarise it in a few words. So things you need to be able to do, the 3 techniques, bass, tone and slap on a drum. If you don't have a drum at home, just use something else like a sketchbook or a piece of paper. We're looking at the tradition of African drumming, but we're also doing some singing. We learned the key term call and response, which is where a leader does a call and a group of people do a response. And if you want to go back and have a look on how to do that, you may have a go. However, if you would like to do some more advanced drumming, there are some much more interesting videos than mine on YouTube that can show you some some more of the difficult techniques. But if you're happy just doing some of the basics for now, please do watch the video from the beginning and go through them. And like I said, email me if you've got any questions. Bye.